Let's see what kind of nastiness comes out of this tank. Whoa! Yikes! There's more in there than I thought. Okay, that's nasty. That's right. How many is it gonna take? I don't know. We'll just lay a bunch out and empty it. Got some bolts and stuff to throw down inside there with some fresh gas. See if we can get it cleaned out enough that we'll decide to maybe use it. I don't know. Spray a little carb cleaner down through the pickup tube, a little bit in the filler neck, and then about a gallon or so, maybe 3/4 of a gallon of gas. We'll throw those bolts, nuts, and whatnot in here, slosh it all around, and see how much of that we can break out of there. I'm going to end up having to use a magnet to try to get these out of there. That filler neck goes down to about here, so dumping, you're always going to have just a little bit left in there. I thought that might be a smooth come out, but nope, it is not. Well, we're committed. It's either this or buy a new tank. What you gotta do? Oh, I didn't mean to dump it. Dang it. Sure, the neighbors love this. Sorry, Joe. So we have our first 3 gallons that came out. This will be the gallon that's coming out. That's coming out after rolling some bolts around in there with it. Let's see what kind of yumminess comes out of this. That's not so bad. It's funny. Got one. That's what kind of yumminess came out of there that time. Just gonna have to put lots of filters on my fuel lines. It actually looks really good. On the outside there's no, I mean there's some surface rust, but that's about it. Looks really good, otherwise it's dirty. Well, lucky for you, it is way too cold for an introduction. Kind of not in the mood, but I am in the mood to work on Wallace the 66. Let's get to work. Sheesh. Yummy. Woo, slickery. It's ice. Wow, that tire is heavy. Bias ply, solid steel, split rim. Wow. Alright, today's project is fuel. We're getting fuel to this thing so it can run on its own and stop it. We got to get it up to temperature so that we can test all the cooling systems as well. That's the goal. See, now that I'm warmed up a little bit, there's your intro. But let's keep working. Stay busy. I was gonna order a new filler neck as well, but I was able to get that cap off there. That took some doing. Had to put it in the vise and basically chisel that thing out of there. I hope I didn't make it out of shape so much that it won't work. I want it to still be able to seal. But I love that patina. I just couldn't make myself buy a new one. It was like 20 bucks for a new one. And the new one would be all shiny. This one looks awesome. So we're reusing that. For sure. If you think I was kidding about it being cold, just ask the ice. Is it cold out here? Yeah, it sure is. Anyway, where we left off last time, I got a new fuel filter. I did get a new fuel filter. And I put it on there, but it was leaking when I hooked it up to an external fuel source. So I bought a new fuel pump. I got an inline fuel filter because the tank is pretty nasty inside still. Step number one, let's get that thing swapped out because I can do that from above. Maybe by then this ice will melt and I'll be in a puddle. But I have my creepy crawler over there. So that's awesome. But step one, let's get that fuel pump, I keep calling it a filter, fuel pump and filter housing out of there. The new one in, reconnect all of our lines, etc. Connect to the hard line that's right down there. It runs over to, from underneath it's easier to see all this, but essentially that hard line comes straight across here and into this fuel selector. Check valve, switch valve, I have no idea what that's called. Underneath there's soft line that comes out that goes this way for about that far. There's one that goes back over to the tank in the back. Kind of see it through the window right there. Anyway, it's in the bed. I think that's what he termed right. Main is the one that's behind the tank, but there's little soft lines that go out from that. Essentially, I'm replacing all of those soft lines, make sure I don't have any leaks. I've got new filler neck soft piece coming that I'll put in here. New grommet for here. It's supposed to be here today, but I'm not going to wait for it to arrive. I'm going to just kind of get after it. Let's get new fuel lines on this thing so that we can fire this bad boy up. I'm going to put fuel in the tank, in the real tank. We're going to be running off of that tank today. Be a little easier without that fuel line in the way. Suppose I could take that fuel line off. That'd be weird. Why would I do that? Alright. Let's work smarter, not harder. Get that fuel line out of the way. Wow, I snuggied that guy up, didn't I? Let's go. Sheesh. Okay. Just get that out of the way a little farther. Oh. One bolt down. We're struggling. That's what we're actually doing. Jeez, there we go. Fit out, yes. Okay. So I got me the Teflon tape that I was talking about. This stuff is yellow gas line. It's safe for use in gas, water, and air. But the white stuff, don't use the white stuff. It deteriorates over time and you'll end up with a leak in your fuel system. So get yourself some of this. It's not crazy expensive, but it's definitely not as cheap as the regular white Teflon tape. This is the stuff to use. You're welcome. And it's lemon flavored. Yep. Harder than it looks. Oh, come on now. There we go. It's not going to be the prettiest, but it'll be sealed. What size that is? How's that for a guess? Doesn't have to be crazy tight, but I definitely don't want to. I don't want to leak. I don't want to burn the truck down, and I don't ever want to have to do this again. This is permanent, one and done. 9/16 is the right size for that one. All right, we're gonna have no leaks. No leaks. Come on. What I don't know is if there's a filter inside of that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to open that and see. They also suggest putting a little bit of grease on that for where it contacts. You can see the old one has some wear on it, so a little grease just helps that maintain a long life. So I'm gonna run to the garage real quick, put a little dab on that. I don't need the grease gun out here, but I'm gonna use the bench vise and see if I can get this thing open too. So I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, so it came with a filter, so that's pretty awesome. I'll leave the part number down below if you're working on a 66 Ford with a 352. This will for sure work. I don't know what other models specifically this works for. Using some AIM grease. It's a little bit overkill for what we're doing here, but I love the AIM products. You've heard me talk about them a lot, but it's amazing stuff. All the stuff they make is fantastic. It doesn't take a lot on this, just a little bit. Just put that on there. Alright, let's get this thing installed in the truck. I'm going to prime that before I put it back together. So I'll put that back on the truck once the pump is installed in the truck. Let's get that far. Make sure I put a gasket back on this. And there goes my light again. I swear, you know. Outlet line hooked up, if I can get it. Grab and go. Alright, put on the inlet hose. I do need to cut this to length. I think I'm going to do that before I actually install it, because I can see both ends of the line from here. So while I'm in here, I'm swapping out any of the existing hose clamps for brand new hose clamps. Not going to mess around with that. That is not going to be my demise. Not today. Okay, that goes on there. We need a hose clamp on this one. Probably that direction. I know you guys can't see, but trust me, the work's happening. Every one of these hoses is completely full of maybe mud dauber, mud. Not sure. It looks like there's almost some straw material or something in the line that comes from the tank. Not sure what that is. Gotta get it out of there though. mentioned how much I like my new creeper. I should have had one of these years ago. Alright, we should have a fuel system. If my filler neck could get here, we could do this. Here's the old filler neck. I am tempted to use it just because then we can get this party started today. I'm gonna go clean this out real good and put some looby dooby down in there, see if we can get some polymers back in this rubber. It's not super firm, but it's not pliable like it should be either. Yeah, I forgot to turn the camera on, but I got it in there. I'm still gonna have to pull this apart one more time to put my gasket in that goes around the filler neck on the outside, and I don't have a gas cap until that shipment gets here too, so there's that problem. But we'll just put a plastic bag or something over the top until that arrives. What the heck's with all the sounds? Can't figure out these sounds. I want these extra tight because I don't like the cab smelling like fuel, you know? That's no fun for anybody. Lots of suggestions of people for me to put the tank, you know, mount a rear one underneath the cab, way at the back, new fuel cell, but it is not in the budget for a $2,500 build. So we're doing what we can for now. Alright, I'm gonna run buy some fuel because I checked all my gas cans and I have like half a gallon. That's not enough. So the wife was a champ and gave me a ketchup bottle. That's a brand new bottle, never been used before, but I'm able to use the little tip there to put fuel right down into the bowl on the truck when we get to that point. But I also used it to fill up, to pre-prime the filter. So that's going to go back on the truck and I'll fill the bowls. I keep saying bowls like there's two of them. Fill the bowl in the carb and we'll be ready to fire this thing up and see if we can get fuel from the tank. I've already put 5 gallons in it, plus the gallon that I had before in that guy. See if we can get fuel to suck all the way through and run under his own power with no alternate fuel source, whatnot. Bring it up to full temperature, test the coolant system, make sure that there's no leaks in the radiator hoses, that sort of thing. I also want to heat up the engine enough to where some of that baked on garbage will start to kind of soften up a little bit. After spraying it with all the cleaner and whatnot, it should start to soften up pretty good and we'll be able to clean it at some point. Make him a little more presentable under the hood. There's no way that's full already. Is it? Is it? I don't know. I can hear the accelerator pump accelerating. The flux capacitors are fluxing. Oh, just have to go slower. I see. Alright. Okay, that should be full. I've still got to get the filter put back on down there, and then we'll be ready to fire it up. Ice is too slick. I can't get any grip on my heels. Come on. Well, I suppose this is the moment of truth. It's already ran once before, but this is new fuel system, gas in the fuel tank. Let's do it. Let's try it and see what happens. Make some noise. see if it's building oil pressure. Oh, okay, that didn't work. Gotta unchoke it before you give it too much gas, I guess. Say what?
Congratulations!
Yeah, thanks. I know. That's fine. Burning some oil. We are building oil pressure in there, so that's good. At this point, I'm just going to let it warm all the way up, get up to temperature, make sure we don't have any leaks in the coolant system. Pretty sure we're good because the radiator has stayed topped off this whole time. Do need to flush that system out, but I haven't taken the time to do that yet. Needs an exhaust really bad though. There's leaks in like right up close to the exhaust manifold, but now that we've got it running for sure, ready to start putting a little bit more money, time, effort into making this truck nice, daily driver, reliable. Starting to warm up. I don't think the temperature gauge in the cab is working in the instrument cluster. It still shows pretty much 0. The fuel gauge is definitely not working. I'm going to need a new sending unit. And lots of exhaust work. A lot of that smoke is actually coming from the exhaust manifold itself, where the oil has sloughed down and dripped down on it enough times. Plus all the extra looby-dooby crap that I've sprayed on it, that didn't help either. So I think once that all burns off, we'll see a lot less smoke, here underneath the hood. There's still smoke going out the tailpipe, don't get me wrong. It's burning some oil. Less and less coming from the tailpipe, so maybe the rings are starting to come around. That's why I wanted to get it up to temperature and see what's going on. What in the possessed speedometer is going on here? Comment down below if you know what might be causing that. We're in neutral, but the wheels are moving. I can stop the wheels from moving. Hey, and this, okay. So I'm holding my foot on that to keep it from moving. And that stops as well. It starts jumping as soon as the wheel starts moving again. Okay guys, how do I fix that? Comment down below. That'll literally be one of the last things I fix. Odometer shows 6,827.5, 6,827.5. I'm assuming that rolled over the 100,000, so it's actually 106,000, which is fairly low miles for a 66. And if I get dual exhaust in this thing, it's gonna sound good. I still need to tune it, adjust timing, stuff like that. We're more interested in getting this bad boy up to temp and making sure that all the cooling system works and all that jazz. So keeping an eye on it so it doesn't get too hot. Don't want to cause any damage. He's definitely a runner. I love it. Wallace the 66, everybody. Alright, and just like I wanted, all of this stuff is becoming super soft. I'm going to spray it down with some cleaner eventually and let it continue to kind of slough off as he gets up to temperature each time and whatnot. There's the proof that it's not just burning. There's still smoke coming from that even after he's turned off. That's just the oil and residue and whatnot that is settled down on the exhaust manifold. So now the real work begins, and where to even start. Brakes. Brakes is going to be the next thing, because then I can actually take it for a test drive. Eventually, muffler. Eventually, protect the patina. I've got to figure out lights, because for some reason that's not going to work. I don't know. Maybe it's because of, well, how it is. But I'm going to pull some of these dents out a little bit. Basically just so that lights are aiming in the right directions and that sort of thing, but I don't want to change too much on this because I really like, I don't like that it's so beat up, but that's the story of Wallace the 66. I don't know, whoops, yikes. I don't know what happened over here in this corner. This quarter panel pushed everything back, pinched into the door. The door doesn't close quite right, that sort of thing. Our gaps and stuff are way off. The door's closed and latched, but you know, you can see daylight through here. So it's going to be a loud ride at this point until I get stuff like this figured out. I want to pull all of this forward just enough to where the door is sitting correct. But I'm not a body guy, so this is all just going to be experiment and whatnot. Hook onto something here and kind of pull this forward just enough to maybe pull that forward. We got pinched clear back to here, obviously, and it affected the door. I got to figure out a little bit of that stuff. I'm not super duper worried about it. Just kind of is what it is, but I'm leaving all the dents and dings and the patina. The shell's going to stay on it for now. I was talking to the wife. She says it's ugly, but it's serving a purpose. We're able to store things back there and not have too big of an issue there. So you saw that I yanked that tire. That was dual purpose, gave me easier access to the work that I needed to do on the fuel system up in there without fighting it. So tire came off because I was able to acquire, I got 4, 3 were a match, 1 was not. This one right down there with the white rim, this one, came from Midnight Maroon. It was actually one of the, I think it was the spare tire from Midnight Maroon from way back when. That's him under the cover there. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss videos on that one. But it matched there. It's like an inch narrower than the two. So we're gonna use wider ones in the back and the narrower ones in the front. Get some, I don't know if we'll go brand new rubber, but definitely new to me rubber for those. I'd like them to be a little bit wide so that they're a wider stance than that. Just kind of looks a little more muscly, as it were. We got to get Wallace to the gym and get some muscle on him. But pretty awesome. I am going to also treat these kind of things with the AIM penetrating lubricant so that we can adjust this. Right now that's pretty seized up solid. I can't do much with that, but I've got to have that out so that I can use that mirror. The other mirror's in the back of the truck, the bed of the truck. We'll get that one treated as well, so you'll see those in a future video. And you'll be able to see how good that AIM stuff is. It really is as good as I keep saying it is. There's the other mirror right there. But anyway, guys, this is Troy with DIY Home and Auto with Wallace the 66. Stay tuned. Please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Really appreciate that. Love you guys. Be sure and click the bell so you're notified of future videos. We've got some really cool stuff coming on Wallace the 66, as well as out in front of the house is Midnight Maroon. We're getting much closer on that. We should be, well, I'm not going to tell you how far ahead we are on that one, but stay tuned. New videos coming on that. We're going to try to do weekly videos on Midnight Maroon and fill in what I can with Wallace the 66 in between that. So at some point there will be 2 videos per week, but definitely at least 1 video a week. So that's my commitment to you. We got to get these things up and running. Appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things. Love you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video.